And welcome back to the ALG podcast. Thank you for tuning in again. I am your co-host, JR's Journey. I am joined alongside Fit D-Rock, David Roden. And today we have a very special guest, one piece of the puzzle that is the Fantastic Four. Another member is among us, Big J Reed. Joel Reed, welcome to the ALG podcast.
Hey, thanks for having me. And you forgot, it's the fat in the Fantastic Four right here.
Oh, I do apologize.
I have to say, on a complete tangent note, that is the greatest intro we've had thus far, and I'm proud of you, John.
Thank you. Nailed it. All right, cool. So, Joel, we've been Instagram friends for what? Maybe 3 years now?
Something like that, yeah.
So, I mean, I know about you. David doesn't know about you, and I'm not really sure if our listeners know much about you. So, why don't you take us back and tell us a little story about little J Reed?
All right. So anyways, I was always the fat kid growing up. I was always the one, picked last on the football team, always eating the extra lunch. I was always a chunky kid. It really took off for me once my dad passed away when I was 10 years old. After that, I developed a lot of issues with food, mostly turning to it for comfort. It was almost like a drug. People would make fun of you in school. People would, almost bully you, but, you could eat and it'd make you feel good.
Mm-hmm.
And then I kept it kind of under control back then. But then my mom passed away of cancer in 2010. And that's when it really kind of took a dive. Because before that, the cancer kept getting worse and worse. And we couldn't really leave the house because this cancer spread to her spine. She couldn't really walk. It was just a whole bunch of shit compounding. So we had to eat fast food. We had to eat delivery food, just pretty much quick stuff we could get in the house. And at that point, I weighed a staggering 375 pounds.
And how old are you at this point?
At 15 years old. And after that, I moved in with some guardians who I'm very thankful for. They set me straight. They got me to a doctor. They got me down the right path. And through that, I got down to around 260 pounds.
Okay.
That's where the problem even took off even more because I got the ability to drive. Up until this point, I was eating what was given to me. I was, they kind of guided me along. They were like, here, eat this. They cooked healthy dinners, all that good stuff. But then when I got access to that bad food again, I went right back to old habits. I was hitting drive-thrus every day after school. Sometimes, 2 times a day. I was getting food enough for 3 or 4 people at least.
And what was the go-to moves? I got to know. Like,
the go-to
fast food. I got to know what we're working with here.
Yeah, so the top 3 go-to moves were Whataburger, because I was born and raised in Texas. You got to do it.
Never had one.
I've had it once. Very, very good.
God. Y'all are missing. If y'all say In-N-Out's better than Whataburger, that's literally fighting words down there. You will get.
I have had In-N-Out a couple times, and it's some dank stuff. So
I don't know. I heard the French fries taste like Yu-Gi-Oh cards, though. That's the meme going around right now.
Yeah. That was my number one go-to move, and it wasn't just I'm gonna go get a burger. It was I got a triple burger, I got a chicken strip dinner, I got a large sweet tea. It was pretty much.
Oh, keep talking dirty to me. Keep talking.
And then sodas, sweet tea those were my biggest crutches because I wouldn't drink, a 20 ounce and be done. I would drink 1 or 2 liters a night of Coke, and a gallon of sweet tea at a time, and it was just staggering what I could eat and drink back then. And after that, and then once I graduated high school in 2014, went off to my freshman year of college, kept up my same bad habits, no activity. I was cutting classes because I didn't want to walk across campus. I was staying in my room all day playing video games, staying up all night. Just kept eating and eating and eating. It was just, the habits were just bad at this point.
Right.
And so I got to the end of my freshman year of college. I was on academic probation. I basically failed out of all my classes. And then I moved up to North Carolina for a summer internship at my uncle's company. And at that point, my aunt decided to send me to a doctor because she wanted me to get checked up. Really, that was just a sneaky way to get myself to get weighed because at this point, any bathroom scale wasn't going to weigh me.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
I wasn't weighing myself. It was just a whole bunch of issues there. And when I got to the doctor, I expected the worst because I knew when I went for a physical for my senior year of football in high school, I was over 400 pounds, but I didn't expect to see 467 on the scale when I went there. And once I saw that number, I knew something had to change. And then I moved up to North Carolina and started living with my aunt and uncle. And it was kind of the same process again. You know, they started giving me healthy foods. I was eating dinners. They were cooked for me, all that good stuff. But this time it stuck because I was in it. I knew if something didn't change, I was, you know, not going to have a good life. I was going to die. Just all kinds of issues were going to be there.
Mhm.
And through that, I kept working. I started off by just walking down to the pool, doing laps in the pool, not swimming because, you know, I could have been used as a raft to like send people out of the country. Like
That was like one of my saving graces. Like when you're 400 plus pounds, you physically float in water.
It's amazing. You don't even have to move your feet.
You don't know, no treading,
Yeah.
no nothing. That
Yeah.
I used to always make a joke out of that. Like when you're on a plane and in case of water emergencies, well, and I would look to the person next to me and goes, "Bitch, I float."
Yeah, I always made a joke that was my backup career move. Was I was going to go be a raft for people sneaking in the country. No offense to anybody. I don't know if I say it all on this podcast, but
no, you're good. You're good.
I know knowing if John's on here, there's probably been some worse things that
Trigger warning. Trigger warning. We'll start putting up stuff. Just have an American flag in the background. It's kind of trigger warning.
And a headband on. So, but yeah, so I started there, and it just started compounding. I started seeing results, and this time, you know, I wasn't doing it to impress somebody. Of course, being in high school when I tried it the first time, I was, you know, what's the biggest thing guys think about at that time? Girls. I was trying to impress the girls. I was trying to impress other people. I was trying to be cool. But this time I was doing it for me.
Right.
And I was doing it so I could have a better quality of life. And through that, over 2 years, I lost 230 pounds, got down to my lowest weight. And there was so much that opened up to me by then. I was able to play football again in college. Played football my junior year and senior year of college.
What position?
Offensive line.
Classic.
It was funny because I'd never been called this in my life, but we had an award ceremony at the end of the year, my junior year, and the coach, he would give a little speech about the person and then introduce them. And he started talking about, you know, the most improved player. And and the words that came out of his mouth were, he's undersized for a lineman. And I was like, oh, it's probably one of our tight ends or something. And then he said my name, and I'm like, excuse me? So,
me undersized? You think I'm skinny?
Is this a challenge, Coach?
I went straight to McDonald's after that. I was like, all right. And then since then, I got into powerlifting. That's been my passion now, and that's pretty much how. Now we're here.
Gotcha. So I want to bring it back a little bit. Let's go back to high school Joel. So before you said Whataburger was your go-to. So what was your other eating habits besides Whataburger? Like where were you going? What were you eating? And kind of walk me through the eating and kind of like the physical. I know you're playing video games. You were playing football, but what was a day-to-day life for Joel?
Well, day-to-day life for me was I wake up. Obviously, gotta wake up. Then I go to school, but on the way to school, I would get something for breakfast, which was either usually Jack in the Box or Sonic or just something like that.
You actually like Sonic?
What?
You like Sonic? I think Sonic is the grossest food on the face. I couldn't even do it, even if I was 400 pounds. Couldn't do it.
But it's all right.
But when you're that big, like I was a very gross big person. I wasn't like exquisite cuisine. I was like, oh, this is greasy. This is nasty. Let me eat this. You know, breakfast burritos from there were mint.
Okay.
So then I go to school, eat lunch, and my lunch was most of the time bigger than most people's, obviously. You know, it wasn't just, let's get the tray lunch and a hot dog on the side, a couple packs of cookies, carton of milk.
Right.
Did you hide it a little bit, or did you own it in high school?
Oh, at school, I kind of owned it. It was kind of known I was the big kid. I ran with a crowd of people there was one kid, his name was Russell, and the ginger bastard, he was born diabetic, so he could eat a lot without gaining weight.
Yep.
So he almost had competition to see who could eat the most.
Classic.
Did you face a lot of bullying in high school because of your weight?
A little bit, yeah. The school I went to was a smaller school, so it was a more tight knit group. So there wasn't much bullying. I'm sure there was talking behind the back because everybody's got to face that in high school. But
right.
to my face, it wasn't much, especially because at that point I used it as a coping mechanism.
Uh-huh.
If someone was making jokes about me, it was me.
Right.
Mhm.
Like I was the one who was like, for
What were
example,
some of your go-to moves?
my biggest go-to was threatening people to sit on them.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, hey, if you don't shut your mouth, I'm gonna sit on you.
You can't go wrong. That's a threat. That is
Yeah.
That's a threat. It's not like "Ooh, I'm gonna sit on you." It's like there's a boulder going to be on your lap.
I don't know how much you actually did it, but I did.
Yeah.
Like
Oh,
I used to belly flop on people on couches just to piss them off.
I've done that, and I did it. It wasn't always a threat, but I did it. Another go-to move was taking off my shirt and doing my milkshake, bringing out a.
You did do that.
Really?
That takes balls. I
Yeah.
couldn't do it.
That is ballsy.
What I thought was funny was when I was at 400 pounds, I was more confident taking my shirt off than I was when I lost my weight, because there was kind of a veil over it of I'm not trying to look cool, I'm not trying to look sexy. I'm a joke at this point. Like I'm trying to laugh. So that was one of my go-to moves. And then
real quick, I gotta go off that because I actually had the exact same. I had the exact opposite when it came to same pivot, but same just a little different avenue, which was girls at the time. In high school and early college when I was 400 pounds, I was surrounded by the hottest girls at all times. And everyone, when we went to the bars or whatever in college, they always wanted to hang around me because I was always with the central cheerleaders. I was always with the athletes. And then I started losing weight, and I kind of got down to like the hybrid phase. And I'm like, I got weirded out by hanging around like hot girls now because I'm like, wait, do they like me? Do they not like me? Am I in this weird phase? So I actually had that opposite. That's interesting.
Yeah. I was not very confident myself. I was not confident at all to talk to girls. I know John talks about, he was still head honcho when
he was the man.
He was the man, but I was not the man.
Enough. Thanks.
Yeah, but and then also when my biggest go-to was when a situation came up where, I was kind of exposed for being fat. I just laughed at it. Like, for
Exposed
example,
in what way?
So for my biggest example was when I broke a chair, which happened a lot. Oh my God.
You broke chairs? I had this conversation with John. I've never broken a chair.
Yeah, I've never met a fat guy besides David who never broke a piece of furniture.
Did you
Because I never actually, the only possible angle you could say of a chair I broke was the futon freshman year of college, just from where I sat in the same place all the time. So I got a really big bow.
Yeah, no, you broke it. You were fat and you broke it.
Nothing cracked. It was just really bowed.
Yeah. Actually, I almost broke a dining room chair today, actually, and got a little freaked out because I sat down. The chair's really old, and it did the old creak, and I was like, oh no, I'm having flashbacks to Nom. Like, this is not good.
This quarantine's really messing me up right now.
Welcome to the rice fields.
So you're exposed. You're breaking chairs. Take me back.
Yeah, so like I remember one time, it was, and I went to a Christian school, so yes, we had Bible class. I know that. And it was Texas, so you can only imagine.
Awesome. 316, baby.
Yeah, exactly. But whenever, it was always a process when I was going into class, because when you're in high school, you have assigned seats.
Right.
You go in, you sit in your chair, that's fine. It was a whole different process for me because I had a system. I had to find, okay, is there a table that pulls out? Because there's those desks that are attached.
Oh, the little U desks?
Yeah.
Sucked.
I had to find one that fit me. And there was always one or two that were like a little bit bigger that I could literally wedge myself in.
Mm-hmm.
Or
we're all vibing on this one.
Yeah.
We've all been
you do that little,
it's like the sit and turn.
Yeah.
And you kind of like pivot wedge your belly.
And then you're like this for the rest of class. And you're like,
half leaned out, kind of at an angle. So the belly's like to the
you
left.
just try to play it off like, yeah, I'm cool. I'm cool.
Yep. A little frosting hanging off the side,
Exactly.
Oh my gosh. This brings back memories. Okay.
Yeah. Is this a therapy session? No, but so I was sitting in a big table that was adjacent to all of them, and it had a chair that pulled out, and I like to lean back in them. And I guess I leaned back on just one of the legs, and that leg said, "Whoop." It bent all the way back, and I fell back, hit the ground, and I could already hear people laugh. I was like, all right, I got to get up and laugh. I got to make it look like it was funny, like it was a joke.
You did it on purpose.
Yeah. And I was like, oh man, was that the Titanic music playing? But yeah, so those are some of my go-tos.
I will say breaking a desk in high school for me, it made life easier after, because I remember I broke a seat in my English class, and then after that they got me one of those desks that didn't have a chair attached to it, so I had the opportunity to either use the teacher's nice rolly chair, or they got me one of those regular chairs that you would just slide into the desk. So I was like, joke's on you, I'm gonna break every goddamn desk in this school now.
I get to this is my way of getting ahead. I'm going to sue the school. I'm suing.
Anyway,
which actually, speaking of not fitting into things, the one thing I remember that was probably one of the worst experiences for me, which I played it off back then, but between my junior year of high school and my senior year, my school switched uniforms from the usual kind of loose fitting football uniforms to the tightest fucking things I've ever seen in my life. And and then the very first game, we hadn't worn them yet. We just worn them for pictures, so I hadn't had pads on over it. And it was a 2XL, and at this point I'm high 300s, almost 400 pounds. And I put the pads on, start to put my shoulder pads on, and that shit doesn't fit. Like that, the jersey did not come past here. It was bad. And all the coaches were looking at me like, didn't you work out this summer? And I was like, yeah, I did.
I did. I was doing bicep curls with the Whataburger.
Curls for the girls, coach. I ain't working on chest and abs, man. What do you want from me?
Yeah, and so I literally had to have 2 or 3 people help me like shimmy into it and pull my jersey down. And it would be a crop top. And I remember one of my buddies, his mom ran a uniform business, so she literally had to put spandex in the side of the uniform for me to fit in it. It was crazy.
That's
and then after the game, I had to have two more people help like pull it off of me because I was so sausaged in there.
Oh my god, I got a story for you with that, John. This is something you don't know about me.
Oh, here we go.
In 8th grade, I was on the wrestling team.
Wow.
I was in 8th grade. I was already like pushing 300. I was because I was like I hit 300 at like 14, so 50, so right around the time. And I was obviously I'm wrestling at heavyweight, which is the nearest heavyweight's now within 100 pounds of me, which is funny how that works. I don't even know how this would have happened, but at least when it came to practice, I won every time, obviously. We never actually wrestled in singlets. And my first time putting on a singlet, I quit because I couldn't let my man boobs be out. I couldn't do it.
Really?
Yeah. It's like down like this and boobs are flopping out everywhere. And I'm like, I can't do it. So I literally did practice for the whole season going up to the season starting. And I quit before the season started because I just couldn't get myself to wear a singlet with my man boobs out.
That's all right. I went to join the wrestling team. I was like, I had to be about 330 at the time. And my stupid ass thought that we were gonna learn, like professional wrestling. So I walk into the wrestling room of my my middle school at the time, and I'm middle school, high school, and I'm like, all right, well, where's the ring? And they were like, no, those pads over there with the circle, that's the ring. And I was like, y'all ain't got turnbuckles? And they were like, this isn't professional wrestling. I was like, all right, well, my time here is over. I really thank you for having me, and be well.
That's funny.
Yeah. Yeah, but since we're talking about high school sports, one of my worst experiences with high school sports, being a fat guy, was, of course, I sandbag practices because when you're almost 400 pounds, I mean, it's always the stereotype for linemen to hate sprints and not be able to run. I was that times too. So I remember one time we didn't have a football field at our school because it was so small. So we had the little yard where all those sports would practice. And it was probably about 100, 120 yards long maybe. And for punishment, the coach would make us run down to one fence and run back. So, of course, I'm sitting there. Everybody's already done by the time I hit the first fence.
Right.
And I kind of start walking back, and I turn around, and coach has everybody in a push-up position. Oof. And he yells at me, and he's like, he couldn't cuss because, Christian school. But he basically said, get your ass back here, and they're not moving until you get your ass back here. And so I actually had to try, and I was like, it was kind of a wake-up call for me, like, oh, wow, maybe I should get my shit together. But I did. So
did you guys do the speaking of like the high school athletic kind of stuff, did you guys have the standardized tests, fitness tests?
Yeah. Well, I did in New York. I don't know about.
I think we did. I think we did in middle school, but we didn't in high school.
You didn't hide? Okay, because I would fail all the different fitness tests. Obviously, the mile run, the shuttle, all this kind of crap. The step and hold. It was so funny. Like you'd sit there and do the pull up hold bars, pull up bar, and I would be on a chair, and then they would pull the chair out, and I'd immediately go down. But they go 1 second. they just give me a loose second. I'm like, yeah, but on the I would get presidential, which was the top 1% in what physical test? Which
Hot dog
test?
eating.
Yeah, eating.
Eating? You're pretty close. Flexibility, the sit and reach.
Oh,
I could palm
yes.
the wall.
Yeah, I don't know.
Could palm the wall.
Being fat really did make me kind of flexible. I guess it's just because your body has to adjust to how wide you really are. But now that I'm a lot lighter than I used to be, I do notice that I'm extremely flexible, especially in my legs. And I attest that to being so heavy.
Yeah. For the longest time, like I would take bets and be like, "Hey, you want to see how high I can kick my foot?" And I could get an NFL punter. I was like, they were like, "How does bowling ball do that?"
Right. No, yeah.
But
I dig it. So then we went on a complete. This is
I
like
apologize.
I like how every single episode we have a general flow, which is like story, teach, tool is kind of like the general flow of what we do. Tell us your story, give us some big teaching points, any tools that we can that someone listening can physically implement and kind of like get them moving in the right direction. But I love the story time because it's just fat people vibing. Fat people vibing.
So Joel, you're playing high school sports, right? So now take me from you playing high school sports to now you got weighed in. Your aunt made you weigh in at this point, or this is after high school?
It was after my freshman year of college is when my
okay. So take me from your senior year to your freshman year of college.
Yeah, so my senior year to my freshman year, it was. So you know how I said when I got that freedom of driving,
right?
My eating habits went off the rails. Getting the freedom of living on my own in a dorm room made that even worse.
Right.
Because now, I have free reign to, sit in my room all day. I did have a roommate, but, he was doing his own thing.
Was he a fatty or no?
No, he was not a fatty, but he was just as lazy as me. So
okay.
Yeah. So it gave me that freedom because there was no mandatory attendance in any of my college classes. I had a parking pass where I could pretty much go anywhere, so I didn't have to walk across campus if I didn't want to.
Wait, you did?
What?
You got a parking pass?
Yeah.
My college, I had to park in the freshman lot, which is the other side of campus. So literally, my freshman year, I got 27 parking tickets because I just wouldn't do it. Like I'm too fat to walk like 3 miles across campus. I'm not doing it.
Well, my 2-week stint in college, I had a handicap sticker.
Oh,
so I could park.
You savage.
So I got the ability to just park wherever the hell I pleased. But my problem was I just wouldn't go to class because I didn't want to walk anywhere. So literally, I paid for a whole semester of college, but I would show up, park my car, hang out in front of one of the buildings, and go back to my car, take a nap. And then I would drive across the street to McDonald's, get something to eat, which for me, that was like, $30 worth of food. Eat in a McDonald's parking lot by myself, shame eating. And then I would drive home and go have lunch with my grandma right afterward and be like, hey, how was class today? Oh, it was great. I had a great day. Yeah.
Oh. Awesome.
Yep.
All right. Back to your freshman year.
Yeah. And, because one of my more embarrassing moments was when my dorm was very cohesive. This was also a smaller college, and the floors were very cohesive. So it was almost like a community. Everybody meet in the lobby at 6:00 to go to dinner together. Everybody meet up, and the expectation was, we all walk across campus together to the meal hall.
Right.
I'm like, all right, I'll meet y'all there, and I get in my minivan. Yes, I drove a minivan back then.
Okay.
And I drove there. And my eating habits, even though I was still around people, and that's one of the things about my eating habits back then is while I owned it in school, at school lunches, I did not own my Whataburger runs or anything after school.
Right.
I was, just like John said, I was either eating in the car or sneaking it into my room.
Yep.
Yeah, because the thing is, if you have eating habits like that, you're most likely not proud of it, which I was
Exactly.
not at all.
Truth.
So, for example, once I got to college, I would still go out to eat, but I would get, like, if I went to Raising Cane's Chicken, I would get a 6-piece meal, but I'd get another one to eat in the car before I went back to my dorm to eat it. So
Wait, hold on. You're telling me you're not supposed to be proud of your physical ability being 500 pounds and being like body positive towards your such a great habits you've informed yourself of. And good golly gosh, I'm so positive at the fact I eat like crap and I'm 500 pounds.
all the diets don't work for me, guys.
How much money were you spending in a drive-through typically?
Man, it was a lot of money. So typically it'd probably be anywhere from $30 plus some
Right.
time. Yeah, it was, and I didn't think about it then, but
you look back now and you're like, damn, I spent a lot of money.
I'm like, shit,
Yeah.
that was a lot of money.
Yep.
Yeah, and everybody says it's too expensive to eat healthy, but if you're eating like we were,
Yeah.
it's even more expensive to do that.
Exactly.
So
Exactly.
question.
Also went to
So
Little Caesars. That was my place.
Little Caesars.
$5 pizza.
Oh yeah.
You can
I
make
will.
a
I will
cheeseburger.
admit, I live in New York, and obviously, I'm a pizza fiend my whole life. Little Caesars and Pizza Hut are my two favorite fake pizza places in the whole world. We define them here as fake pizza.
Yeah.
Like we'll never say we're gonna go to Pizza Hut for a slice of pizza, but if we have to get fake pizza, that's where I'm going.
I rolled
Little
my eyes.
Caesars,
I thought you were about to be like, "Oh, Little Caesars was trash."
No. Little Caesars is godly. They had that bacon crust pizza back in the day, and that shit was money. For $5. $5.
Ah,
So question. So obviously I find it fascinating too, because it's such a this is more of a teaching point, like of how you went through things. It's interesting how you get put into a position to lose weight, and to, when you're just being told what to do, it's fine and dandy, but it's not sustainable.
Right.
Like it's not ever sustainable. So you're in this transition phase where you finally step on the scale again at 470. And you now start implementing this idea that I'm not just doing this because my aunt wants me to, or my parents or whoever. It's like, I'm doing it for me. What was that change for you like? Like, how did you look at food differently now? How'd that kind of happen?
right. And I won't lie and say it was an overnight change. It was a gradual change because when you're at that weight and you built the habits that I built, there takes a lot of monitoring because people don't realize it and people don't talk about it as much as they should. But food addiction is a very real thing.
Yes.
And I tell everybody, drugs and alcohol, you can kick that. You can go cold turkey. You don't need drugs and alcohol to live. Now, I'm not going to say it's easy, but, you don't need those to live. Food, right. You need it to live.
Right.
So you still have to put something in your mouth. You can't just not eat ever again.
And the temptation is always there. Always.
Exactly. I mean, it's still here today,
right.
Like, especially during this quarantine.
Mm-hmm. Especially with friends and family around you all eating the way they want to eat.
Right.
And it's like, oh yeah, you quit doing cocaine, but all your friends are just bumping around you and like
bumping around you. I like that, David. That was good. That was really good. I didn't expect that. Yeah. So how did you start to change your eating habits? Like what were some things that you implemented at first?
So it started off gradually, and I'm not gonna lie, there was a little bit of pushing from my family at first, just to kind of get me started. Like my favorite example was my uncle. He's a very, very no shit person.
Okay.
When I grab a bagel out of the pantry, he'd be like, "Joel, that's this many calories, right?" And it made me think, "Oh, okay, do I need that?" So that kind of helped me at first. One of the first things I implemented was portion control and no liquid calories. Those were the first two things where I knew, okay, I can cut these out and this will help. So I cut out sodas. I started switching to diet sodas if I really needed one. And I started logging my food and trying to hold myself accountable to that portion size.
Okay.
And I was a how do I say this? I was a psychopath with how I logged my food. Like if I had one M&M, it was in my log.
That's
I respect that. I did the same thing.
Yeah, and it was just really realizing that there was other things in life that could give me that same happiness as food, so I didn't have to use it as a crutch. But if someone's starting out, the first things I would say to them were, get your portion sizes under control, and cut out liquid calories. That was my first two.
How were you logging your food? You had a journal, or you were using like MyFitnessPal?
Yeah, I was using MyFitnessPal, and I used that pretty much
Yeah.
every step of the way.
I still use it today.
Not sponsored, I swear.
No, but you're not sponsored, but they did feature you on their website, isn't that right?
Yeah, they did. They did. Yeah. I got tired of riding John's coattails, so I had to go find some bigger coattails.
For those that don't know, that's the inside joke with me and John.
Yeah. And as far as starting with exercise, and I still tell this to everybody today, it's probably the cheesiest thing you hear on the internet nowadays. It's just start. Just do something. Anything's better than nothing. Like I said, I started with a mile walk to the pool, walk some laps back and forth in the pool because it's very, very low impact. And when you're at 400, 500 pounds, that's critical because if you sustain an injury and you become immobile, then
you're done.
your
Yeah.
chances of succeeding are going to go down. I'm not saying you can't. I'm not, because diets can be 90% of what you need, but your chances of succeeding go down because it's very demoralizing. You can't do anything. So just start. Just do something. Go out for a walk. You don't have to go to the gym and kill it on the first day. You don't have to run a mile the first day. Just start.
So you cut out soda. You start working on portion control. Are you in the gym at this point?
Not yet. The only exercise I'd done at this point was walking. About a month down the road, I did start going to the gym because thankfully my work at the time, which I still work there, but they had a gym in the building, so I could go there before work out.
And how were you working out? Because I mean, I know for me, when I was 500, even when I was 450, it was hard to fit in the machine. So what were some of the things that you were doing in the gym?
So one of the things I did was I went on bodybuilding.com because I had no idea what to do. I'd worked out with people before, obviously with football, but that was everybody else telling me what to do, just like you said. So I found a program that looked like fit my needs.
Uh-huh.
That would do, low impact stuff that I needed, machines that I needed, and I would just do that. So most of the stuff I did was machines like shoulder press. I was a huge user of this cable machine.
Right.
Smith machine at the time, which I look back and I'm like, why did I use that? Yeah,
so I'm a Planet Fitness guy.
But
I live at Planet Fitness, so I make that Smith machine work.
But see, you weren't worried about putting on
Planet
size.
Fitness. Yeah. These are Planet Fitness packs, right?
It's more like knockoff packs. I mean,
this is a judgment zone, okay, Dave?
This is
I don't want
to
hear about your
Planet
purple
Fitness.
gym, which are pizza Sundays and bagel Tuesdays. I don't want to hear. Don't want to hear.
I've yet to have pizza from Planet Fitness, though.
All right,
I've lived in
quick
Planet
story.
Fitness for years, and I've still
quick story. One time I was going out with this girl in high school.
You leaned in and quieted down like you about to say something naughty.
So
this is ASMR with John.
Listen, shh. So I was going out with this girl in high school. I never went to a goddamn gym in my life, and she was a member of Planet Fitness. And right when they first opened up, so this was back when like the pizza day was every day. I don't know if you guys remember this little time frame in Planet Fitness.
Pizza day every day?
Every day. There was a pizza day every day.
Lying.
I swear to God. And every morning you could go and get bagels. This was an everyday thing. So we went to the Planet Fitness because I guess I felt the need that I had to impress my girlfriend that I could do some sort of physical activity. So
I can walk.
I can do this. So we go, and I purposely only went for the pizza because I knew that there was pizza there. So like she's doing her thing, her buddy's doing her thing, and her girlfriend's boyfriend is doing his thing, and I'm in the corner like 2 slices of pizza. Like,
oh my God, this is savage.
You guys are really good. You guys are getting in that workout, aren't you? Yeah, this pizza's good.
I'm just watching so I know what to do.
Yeah. And then upon exit, taking a handful of the grape Tootsie Rolls and sticking them in my pocket.
Oh my gosh, that is savage.
Yep, and that's the one and only time I ever went to a Planet Fitness.
I went to actually, it's funny. The one time I went to a Planet Fitness was on a Tinder date of all things.
Really?
What?
Yeah.
Wait, actually, hold on. No. I need to hear this.
I have after yours, I got one and it's bad. So you go.
Well, it's not as juicy as it sounds, but back when I was in college, I was a big user of Tinder because, well, I developed a big social awkwardness from being fat. So,
right.
What better way to talk to girls than behind the screen, right?
Right.
So I met a girl and we both shared a passion for working out. And I was like, oh, what gym do you go to? She said Planet Fitness. I was
like, I'm immediately judging you.
I'll go try it. But yeah, on the way out, definitely Tootsie Rolls in my pocket.
Bam! I just don't get it.
Yeah.
I
Don't
literally,
understand.
I love playing the price point. I travel a lot, so it works out really nice for me because
Yeah.
I travel so much. There's always a Planet Fitness nearby. But I had a Tinder date, Planet Fitness, where I got straight catfished.
Oh
Like
yeah.
this was like this is post skin surgery, David. Like I'm looking pretty.
David's looking
I'm looking
good.
like a snack,
Yeah.
and like I'm feeling good. And this girl's she comes up and I'm telling you, man, she was at least 80 pounds heavier than her pictures. At least 80. And I'm not. This is just reality. Even when I was 400 pounds, I've only been attracted to fit girls, like even
Yeah.
like 6-pack ab girls. Like that's just my thing. I enjoy that more than anything else. And this girl comes in, and I felt it was one of the hardest things to do because I just was like, this girl she needs to lose 100 pounds, and I'm like, I did it for myself. You do it, and then come back, and then we could talk.
Right.
But like, I'm not.
So David took out the book that he wrote, handed it to her, and was like, "Listen, I'm not that into you, but this book is gonna help you, and if you want, I'll train you for the low price of
I'm gonna get
$80 a
some.
week."
I'm gonna be real. I'm gonna get some shit for this. There's gonna be some. I'm gonna get some haters for this statement.
Yeah, we're gonna have to organize a female guest after Joel now because everyone's gonna think that David's a sexist. That's what happened.
But it's not even that. It's like honestly, for example, I hate the line, if you don't love me at my worst, you can't love me at my best. I think that is absolute BS. Because it's like, if you're not good at, like, because again, we're a bunch of habits and who we are. It's like it's just a bad habit. So it's like, if you're not healthy now, I can't guarantee you're gonna be healthy with me. So
Right.
yeah,
You're a
I'm gonna
heel.
get some shit for this.
You are a heel, sir.
Both ways with girls and guys. It's not just girls. I mean, I'm sure if I put, when I was at my heaviest, if I put pictures of me when I was younger and fitter.
When he was 7, he was gonna put pictures of himself at 7.
7 years old.
Yeah, it's just full circle. Like, I'm not blaming a girl for not finding me physically attractive and not wanting to go out with me at 400 pounds. I don't take that. I'm looking back at that. I'm not taking that personal.
Oh yeah, no. I agree, and I would say that in the dating realm too. Like, yo, you don't have to worry. Like, I get it. Like, I don't think you're shallow. I get it. Like, if the shoe was on the other foot, I wouldn't want to. I feel you, baby. I can't love myself. So how are you supposed to love me?
Yeah. And so I want to put that full circle. I'm just gonna I'm gonna try to protect myself a little bit from the haters.
David's not allowed to talk for like the next 5 minutes.
And I thought you would enjoy this, John. So I showed up to the Planet Fitness, right?
Right.
And she was an Italian girl.
Oh.
Guess what the first thing I asked her is?
What's that? Can you make sauce? Because that's what I would
really do this.
Yeah.
that was the first thing I asked. Do y'all really do this?
Y'all really go like this?
And I think she actually did it at one point during the workout, and I was like, "Yes, it actually happens."
I'm gonna protect myself by pivoting completely to something tangible after I just went on that rant.
Right?
And so I find going back to your transition where it was like starting to move my body and then also just tracking your calories, just tracking what you eat. I love that because especially from stepping on the scale and for me, MyFitnessPal as well, because the idea that it stops mysticism,
right? Like
where it's no longer this mystical ghost that I'm just fat because of some reason outside of my control that I have no idea. And it's like all of a sudden, if you actually for a week calculated how many calories you're eating in a week, you'd be like, oh, okay, that makes sense.
even in a day, even in a day.
Yeah. And so that's I love that place to start with people. Just start tracking because it breaks down the mysticism to it all. It's like,
and that's the way I recommend most people start, because I'm not trying to plug it right now, but I'm actually doing coaching now.
No, go ahead, plug it. Plug your stuff, bro.
Hold on. Let me lob it. I'm gonna lob it. Now hit it.
But and the first thing I tell people is, let's see how you normally eat so we can fit it, adjust it to where it's gonna fit. Because and the number one thing I hear from people is they've tried every diet. They've tried keto. Shout out to Gormy.
Yeah.
Right. They've tried keto. They've tried paleo. They've tried low carb. They've tried primal. They've tried all this stuff, but it didn't work. Because at the end of the day, sure, those diets can be great, But if you're just starting off and you go from, eating pizza every day, eating Whataburger every day, eating anything you want every single day, to being super, super restrictive the next day, it's not going to work. You're not going to stick with that. It's all about building a sustainable lifestyle. So it's really about logging those calories, finding what fits, and it's going to be a lot of trial and error. I'm not going to say that I started logging my calories day one and that was it. Like, okay, it was straight down from there. No, it was a lot of trial and error. Like, okay, I ate this week, I gained weight. Maybe my body reacted to that. It's just about finding what works for you. And again, a lot of trial and error.
So how'd you go about replacing food? So now you have the MyFitnessPal app. You're logging just a day of eating for Joel. You see that your eating is obviously out of control, but you can't just flip the switch and just, okay, I'm unhealthy today, I'm healthy tomorrow. So what did you do to kind of get yourself on that path? You changed one meal out of your day, you changed two. What did you do?
Well, again, the biggest thing I started with was just portions. So instead of eating enough food for 3 people, I would eat, enough for a normal person.
Right.
And again, I had a lot of help because I was living with family, at least with dinners, because, the family I live with my aunt and uncle, they were very, very healthy people. So when I sat down to dinner with them, my portions were pretty controlled.
Right.
But my main focus was making my breakfast and lunch when I was at work or away from that controlled environment as good as I could.
Right.
And one of my biggest things was focusing on what's going to fill me up for the least amount of calories. So like stuff like chicken and a lot of veggies. And I'm not saying that's the only way to go, but that was something that filled me up very easily, almost made me not want to eat. Because if I put in my mind, like, okay, I have this many calories for the day and then I'm done. If I, ate it all in one meal at McDonald's, then I'm going to be miserable for the rest of the day. Sure, it's going to taste good, but I'm going to be miserable for the rest of the day. And it really was a slow process of, first I eliminated the sodas, for a while eliminated bread. It wasn't really like a straight, here's the process. It was kind of, again, a lot of trial and error.
But you never did any of like the textbook diets, right? You never did keto. You never did paleo, carnivore, none of that.
No, I did try low carb for one point, which it wasn't like a set out paleo diet. It was more like, okay, I'm going to cut out bread. Okay, I'm going to not eat pasta. I'm sorry, I know that hurt your heart right there, John. But
hey, I haven't had real pasta in like 4 years, buddy. I eat that lentil stuff now.
Right,
yeah. I don't eat wheat pasta.
Can I see your Italian card, please?
Yeah, I got it for you. Hold on 1 second. It's right there.
Yeah,
that's funny.
But and that's what makes it so hard for me to tell people what I did. Was it wasn't like this textbook thing. It wasn't like, okay, I jumped on keto and then it worked for me. It was kind of figuring out what could fill me up for the least amount of calories and finding what worked for me. So
I did that's actually very similar to what I did. And like I always kind of put that as a piece of my puzzle on not necessarily branding myself, but like becoming a quote unquote expert fitness, like you're teaching people all this kind of stuff and coaching, because it would be so much easier of a brand just to say you're the keto guy or you're the intermittent fasting guy or you're the macro guy. It's like, no, in the last 6 years, I've done everything but vegetarian and vegan pretty much. And it's like, they all helped. They all had their pros and cons. And I'm the same position as you. It's like, yeah, I mean, there's a lot of ways to get to the grocery store, and it's kind of figuring out what makes it work. And then also going off of what you were saying earlier, it's interesting too when you start to calorie count and you start to like look at foods differently, and you start to figure out how when you eat healthy, how much food you can actually eat when you're looking at food differently. It's like a McDouble is 1,000 calories, and it's like how much baked chicken is 1,000 calories of baked. You would be peeling at the gourds of eating 1,000 calories of baked chicken in one sitting.
Yeah. Right. Like so when my girlfriend and I got serious about powerlifting, so when we moved in together, this is fast forwarding to like now.
Okay.
Whenever she moved in with me, she decided, because she had done CrossFit her whole life, she'd actually lost 250 pounds herself. So she'd always been athletic. But
we're going to have her next, by the way, Joel.
Yeah, that's going to happen.
But anyways, so she'd been in the gym all the time. So she decided she wanted to try powerlifting out. And whenever she did, we got really serious about our diets, and we had someone kind of write out our nutrition for us. And whenever we got our plans back, we ate the same thing every day. But I looked at my portion sizes, and it was literally like 4 eggs and 12 tablespoons of egg whites with bell peppers cooked in there. And I cooked it all, and it was literally filled up a Tupperware that big. And I was like, after the first meal, I'm like, how many calories did I see? And I logged it, and it's like 500 calories.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm literally full all day from that.
Right.
When it comes to meal 2, I'm like, I'm literally having to force it down because, yeah. And the thing people don't realize is there's stuff you can enjoy that's going to fit into your diet. It's just you got to look for it because everybody wants that easy answer.
Hell yeah.
That's why there's so many people who try diets and fail because they want that magic pill. And for me, the meal format that really worked was a protein, some rice, and a veggie.
Right.
So,
You said veggie last because no one really likes the veggies.
yeah, I had to think about it. I'm like, what's that thing called again?
I'll be honest with you. There's sometimes I meal prep and I'm like, do I really have to put this stupid zucchini in here? Is it really doing anything?
Really valuing my nutrition.
Summer's coming, John. Summer's coming.
Summer's coming. So I want to take it back really quick because we fast forwarded there for a second. So when did you start noticing real change in just yourself when you looked in the mirror or even just mentally? Like what was that turning point for you that you were like, okay, it's working this time. Like I can continue on this path.
Right. The real first time that I noticed change was actually really after I lost 50 pounds. That's when, because I'd noticed stuff before then because I'd be, my pants wouldn't fit as well.
Right.
It was kind of funny because whenever I first started, I had this one belt. I think it was a size probably 64 belt.
Yeah.
And I bought my aunt bought me a leather punch because I wanted to keep the belt and see how
I got
how
one.
far I could get that to go around. And I noticed my clothes were fitting different. I'd noticed little stuff, but once I got under 400 pounds, I started to realize I actually got a shot here.
Right.
That first number's 3. That's acceptable.
Yep.
Because when someone says they weigh 300 something pounds, you're like, okay, maybe they're just a thick boy. Maybe they're, maybe they work out a lot. But when they say 400 pounds, you're like, okay, you're just fat.
I'm 7'4", 400 pounds.
Uh-huh.
Uh-huh.
No. But yeah, so I really started to notice that then. And then once I got under 400 pounds, I started getting more motivated in the gym because at this point.
Because the number's moving. It's like making big number moves.
Exactly. Because I didn't just lose 20 pounds. I didn't just lose, 10 pounds, which is still a good number to lose.
Oh, yeah.
And I'll never shame anybody for the amount of weight they've lost because I think the number one conversation I've had with people was they'd see me at work and be like, oh, my God, you've lost a lot of weight. How much have you lost? And I'd say, 100 pounds, 200 pounds, whatever it was at the time. And they'd be like, oh, my God, that's awesome. But then they'd say, like, oh, I've only lost 25 pounds, nothing close to what you've done. And I'm like, no, it's still amazing.
Yep.
I had to put the work in.
You only have 40 to lose. You've lost 25. That's great. If you
That's
try to lose
amazing.
200 pounds, you wouldn't exist.
Right. I love that. I love when people say that in public. Oh my God, you look fantastic. I haven't seen you in years. How much you down? Oh, like 270. Wow, that's great. I have like 40 pounds to lose. I'm down 30. I'm just not as good as you. Bro, you lost almost your whole goal. Like, what do you mean?
3/4 of the way there. Come on.
Yeah.
Most importantly, you had to say it like this.
Yeah, I just realized I did that too.
Oh, gosh.
This is great. Okay, yeah. So now that we've gone off on another tangent, let's try to reel Joel back in. So now you're losing weight. You're feeling great, which is awesome. You are noticing change on the scale. How are you staying accountable? You're logging food. You're going to the gym every day. So what else are you doing to kind of keep yourself accountable to your actions and everything that you want?
The biggest one in the beginning was the scale. And it's kind of being a little hypocrisy here because I tell people the scale's not everything. To me, in the beginning, the scale was everything. Because I was
the same way.
Yeah, I think everyone who starts off is the same way.
Yeah, because I knew if that scale didn't move, I was gonna feel like shit, and I wasn't making progress towards my goals. So I really held myself accountable to that. Another way I did it, which was kind of weird, was but which I would think a lot of people do this, is buying goal shirts.
Yeah.
Oh, what the hell? Oh, sorry about that. For some reason, my phone decided to ring.
It's all good. We'll edit that out.
What's that? Yeah, let's edit it out. But yeah, so I'd buy goal shirts, and it'd be like, all right, I want to fit in a 3X now. Okay, I want to fit in a 2X now. And I really held myself accountable to making progress, if that makes sense. Like, I just love to see progress.
I just like how you
I
chunked
knew,
it. That was I've never heard of the goal shirts. I just like the idea like you're chunking
Really?
the goal down. I've never heard of a goal shirt like that.
Steve,
That's
actually,
fascinating.
I should have brought this up on the last episode. Steve actually did that for me. He bought me my first gold shirt, and I was like a 4X at the time, and he bought me a 2X shirt, and he was like, "You're gonna fit into this," and I was like, "You're a
Really?
crazy son of a bitch. It's not gonna happen."
That's
But it
wild.
happened.
Yeah, I've
Yeah,
never heard of a goal shirt.
yeah. Nope.
yeah. And also being able, and at this point, I hadn't started, because I see a lot of people that start their Instagram page when they start.
Right.
I didn't start that till I was pretty much almost all the way down.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but being able to share the progress with people and being able to show people what's possible was a huge thing for me. Being able to be like, oh yeah, I've lost 100 pounds. That was like one of my biggest goals, was being able to show people, hey, no matter how far gone you are, this is possible.
How do you like the Instagram weight loss community?
I'm not gonna lie, it's hit or miss.
Right.
There's a lot of good, genuine people out there and that share a good, genuine message. Sometimes I think it gets away from us. Like, some
Right.
people get caught up in how many followers we have or how many likes we get. But for the most part, it is just people trying to hold others accountable and share their message and inspire people. And when it's at its best like that, I love it. Because I
That's
think
so
it is.
interesting because I'm so out of that realm.
Yeah.
Like I have my social media, Instagram and stuff like that, but at the same time, I don't dive into individual people's brands.
Right.
I just never did. So it's so funny because that's John's connection to everything. It's like he's got the relationships with a lot of different the fit transformation people on Instagram. I don't know them at all.
I don't know nothing. I don't know what you're talking about.
And shit, what was I gonna say? Like, I've kind of stepped away from that myself. Like,
Right.
It's almost like because whenever I was losing weight and lost all my weight, it was around my sophomore or junior year of college was when I finally got to my lowest weight. And it almost
Wait,
was
was
like,
that? What weight?
like my lowest sustained weight was 227.
Okay.
And that was when I was like running all the time. I'm not gonna lie, when I got to my lowest, I hated myself because I was still in that mindset of there's always more. I can push more. I don't weigh as much. I haven't lost as much as this guy. I don't
Right.
run as fast as this guy. So I was still comparing myself to other people. But at that point, it almost became like weight loss was my whole life.
Right.
All I posted about on Instagram was weight loss. That was the only thing I talked about was my weight loss. So I do think it does people get wrapped up too much in that instead of, having your own identity, if that makes sense. I feel like
No, I got you. No. I understand what you're saying. Definitely, and I agree. And I feel that social media, like you said, it's a two-sided coin, because I think that when it's at its best, it's amazing. There's people on there that love to help each other, that really want to see change in the community and really want to see people hit all their goals. And then, you get to the point where you get so caught up in trying to be like the next guy and the next guy and the next guy. So it's definitely a double-edged sword. But at the same time, it's like, I mean, for me, and this is just my ideals, if it wasn't for my page itself, I don't know if I would have had as much of an impact and as much success, because the people on my Instagram kept me accountable. That's just cut and dry the way it was. I was posting my progress. I was already a year deep into my journey when I started my page, but the people that were commenting and following me and DMing me, it was all positive. Keep going, keep doing this. You're doing amazing things. Now, I never wanted it to, blow up to what it is now, but it did. And that's just what it is. But I like to try to keep that positivity up. I don't want to be that guy who's comparing himself to everybody. And it's just, it can be toxic at times. But I think when you put it in a realm like this, and we're able to come together, because I wouldn't know you if it wasn't for, the Instagram weight loss community. I wouldn't know David, and we wouldn't be able to sit down today and have this conversation about, just accountability as a whole. So it's definitely good. It can be good. And I think that we need to continue to make it good. And it's our responsibility to do that.
Right. And one thing I would say about that is use social media responsibly.
Right.
Because it is a good motivation tool. Like, I've had people tell me, hey, your transformations inspired me. Seeing you do it makes it seem possible to me. And actually, when I started, I saw one of my friends. He doesn't do much weight loss stuff anymore, but his name was Biggie O'Donnell on Instagram. I saw him do it, and I was like, because he was probably had about the same body structure as me, was around the same starting weight, and when I saw him do it, I was like, maybe this is possible.
Right.
But at the same time, I would see, and I'll tell someone who has a lot to lose, like let's say 200 pounds, 100 pounds. Let me see if John knows this. What's the biggest question you get from someone who wants to lose that much?
How'd you do it?
Well,
The number one question I get is, how'd you do it?
Well, I guess the number 2 question that I get is, am I going to have loose skin?
Oh, well, yeah,
I
that
get
one
that
too.
constantly.
I hate that question. Yes, you're going to have loose skin.
Yeah. And
actually, I got a comment on my TikTok that says if you go vegan, you won't have loose skin when you lose the weight. Because that somehow makes such a big difference.
Right.
We're not making fun of diets today, David. I made fun of Weight Watchers last week, and it's just not happening again.
Right, we're holding back from mocking.
Yeah. But what happened with me was I would see, because we all carry our weight differently. We all carry different amounts of weights in different places. We all start at different points. But one of the things for me that kind of made me beat myself up was actually, everybody knows him, Obese to Beast.
Yeah.
His page, whenever I was in the middle of my journey, was when he was doing bodybuilding shows. And I saw his page and I was like, oh, wow, this guy, he's on stage. He's so lean. He's so buff. Like he barely has any loose skin. I can be like that. And that almost pushed me to a place where I was too far, like going too hard, doing too much, beating myself too much because I didn't look like this. So I would say use it responsibly. Use it for motivation, but don't use it to be like, I want to look like him or I want to be like him.
Yeah, I agree.
I like that. Of life, because my main focus right now is powerlifting, and I'm far from the strongest person out there. And this is a crazy time to be alive because human beings are stronger than they've ever been. And it's easy for me to go to the gym, come back home, open up Instagram, and be like, well, I had a good session, but I'm not as strong as this guy. So I should hate myself. But yeah.
So I got to ask, so at this point in the story, you're at your lowest weight, you're 227 pounds. How did you make the transition into powerlifting? Like, what made you say, okay, I don't want to lose weight anymore, but I want to lift, I just want to lift.
I want to pick very large things up.
Yeah, very large things up.
Actually, it was funny because that takes us back to earlier when I said that comment of being undersized for a lineman.
Right.
That was kind of the turning point for me because that was the end of my junior season. I had a pretty okay season, but I definitely knew the size and strength wasn't there. My endurance was at its peak. I was running. I was able to keep up in practice. I could do all the conditioning, but my strength really wasn't there. And up until this point, I had just been pretty much training for aesthetics, trying to look good, not really focused on my strength. And at that point, I realized, okay, I need to get stronger. I don't need to drop any more weight. I'm going to play football. I need a little bit of beef behind me. So I started off with a very basic powerlifting program there. And this is before I ever considered competing, before I ever considered even calling myself a powerlifter. But it was the 5x5 program.
Okay.
Which I'm sure most powerlifters have ran at one point in their careers because it's where most of us start off.
What is that?
Was that?
What is the 5x5 program? I don't know what that is.
So it's literally just how it sounds. It's 5 sets of 5 reps on, I think in total it does about 6 different exercises. So one day, for example, will be squat, bench, and bent over row. You'll do 5 sets of 5, and you'll start with a weight where you can do it pretty comfortably, almost 50% of your 1 rep max. I believe it's been a while since I've done it, so this might not be exact numbers, but it uses progressive overload. So like, let's say this week you benched 185 for 5 sets of 5. Next week you'll do 190 for 5 sets of 5, and it just progressively overloading yourself. So that's where I started because I was like, okay, I can get a little bit stronger. But after my senior year of football, I still had that itch to compete, that itch to keep myself motivated in the gym. And I was like, well, I've already, done all the strength stuff. Maybe I can try out powerlifting. I won't compete or anything, but I'll at least try it. And I had a lot of friends in the gym that were powerlifters, so it was a very easy transition into that community. And then just fell in love with it, because it was a way to keep myself moving, keep myself healthy, but also get stronger and see a different kind of number I could be proud of.
See, I love that because I'm a firm believer in doing something. I mean, obviously not everyone's competitive, but if you're a competitive person and say, which most people are in some way, shape, or form,
I agree.
finding something you can compete with that can keep you accountable. So like whether it's running a 5K every year, or it's running a marathon, or it's powerlifting, or it's bodybuilding shows, something you can do yearly, bi-yearly, competitive, that just kind of keeps your edge.
Right.
Because otherwise it's so easy to slide. But it's
Right.
like if you know, like for example, I may make bodybuilding shows my competitive edge, where just every other year I do a show. And that just kind of I'm not doing it for some crazy, like I have to win and I got to do anything it takes to win. I want to get better, but it's like it'd be a position for me just to kind of show progression, show accountability, and keep you on task. Because it's like, all right, I can gain a little weight and still be healthy. All right, David, you can't gain 45, 50 and then get ready for this bodybuilding show. You gotta stay in check here. And
Right.
so I like the idea of having something that you can compete with that kind of keeps you accountable.
Right.
I like that.
And one of the biggest things powerlifters say is it's not about beating the person next to you. Every time you step on the platform, it's about beating how you were yesterday or how you were before. You're really competing with yourself in the sport. Unless you're in the top, 10%, then you're really trying to be the best in the world. But I'm I'm far from the top 10%. So I'm just trying to be the best I can be, better than I was yesterday. And that's really given me more motivation now. Because one thing I have to tell everybody is there's going to be a time where the weight loss stops.
Right.
And this is why it takes back to what I was talking about, my hypocrisy of the scale being everything. Because once that scale stops, your motivation is going to stop.
Right.
So you got to find something else that motivates you, something else that holds you accountable, another area of life to get better in, whether that's physically or whether it's, graduating mentally, all that good stuff.
I
So,
think that is absolutely massive, because that's why I'm like I always promote health and happiness. Health and happiness. Health has a crazy balance to it. Happiness has a crazy balance to it, and you can take it in so many different directions.
Yep.
But if it's just weight loss, it's like if your primary focus is just weight loss and that's all you're doing it for, that's where this roller coaster comes from, because you lose the 150 pounds and then you're like, and that's it, and it's over.
right.
And then you gain it all back and you're like, ooh, I like the rush of that. So you do it again,
Yeah.
and you do it again,
Yeah.
and you do it again.
Yeah. And that's one thing that I was thinking about recently, because I saw in our high school alumni group, our old digital film teacher posted our class of 2014 wrap-up video where we all kind of shared our funniest moments from high school, or what we're going to miss about high school, who we're going to miss, blah, blah, blah. And I was in it for a couple times, and not only could you see how fat I was, because I was fat, like I'm talking Jabba the Hutt, give me a sail barge, I'm about to throw my butt, yeah. So had to do that for John there.
I love you.
Not only could I see how fat I was, but I talked so fast, it was like I couldn't wait to get the words out because I was just so socially awkward.
Oh yeah.
Like I talk like this, I was like, they asked me what my favorite story was, and I was like, probably the time Miss Burton did, like I just couldn't wait to get the words out. And part of what I saw in that was not only have I lost this weight, but I've also gained the ability to talk like a coherent human being,
Right.
to communicate, to be more outgoing. And that's one thing I've encourage people to do is don't just focus on one area. Because, there's so many people that I've heard, even one of my clients right now, I won't name names out of respect, but they told me, they've been there before, they've been at their goal weight, and they just hated their life. They hated their body, they hated everything. So it's really about improving yourself in other areas as well. Like if you don't like you don't like your job, okay, don't just lose weight, get a degree,
Right.
work on improving that. If you don't like that you're socially awkward like I was, focus on being more outgoing, focus on talking to people, get your confidence up. Because at the end of the day, if you don't have a quality of life when you lose that 200 pounds or whatever you need to lose, you're just going to be as miserable as you were at 400 or 500.
I love that, Joe, because this journey is way more than losing weight. It's more about personal growth than it is dropping numbers on a scale. So I definitely love that and respect that a lot.
Yeah, and just that sense of progress. Like Tony Robbins, I'm a huge Tony Robbins guy, and obviously happiness comes from progress.
Yep.
And as soon as you hit your goal in one area, if you don't adjust, if you don't find something to feel like you're progressing towards, you're just going to fall apart. And so, and that's why I think where a lot of these people in the obesity space, the weight loss space, they're always on the roller coaster because their only sense of progress was the weight. And that's the only thing they've gotten gratification from. And so they gain the weight, they lose the weight. Because every time they lose the weight, oh my gosh, I'm progressing again. And there's this overwhelming
Right.
just ebbs and flows of it. So it's like, yeah, as soon as you're done with the weight, what's the next progression you're going to fix? What is the next thing about yourself that, because that was big with me, was after I lost about 60 pounds, I immediately transitioned to, I'm going to change everything I don't like about myself. And if I can't change it, I'm going to learn to accept it. Now, most things we can't change. Obviously, there's some things you can't. I mean, I wish I was 6'6" and could windmill dunk the basketball, but that's just not going to happen. But there's so many things you can do. And so when I got into that avenue of life where it's like, I'm changing how I see myself, I'm changing how I see finances, I'm changing how I see everything, it creates so much more sustainability for progress. I dig that.
Right. And that's another reason why, as I said, I transitioned into the world of powerlifting, is because it gave me another avenue to see improvement. So instead of seeing I went down 5 pounds on the scale, okay, I added, 2.5 kilograms to that PR. Hell yeah, I'm improving. And that was another, just like you, another area I had to focus on was, what area of my life do I not like now that I have to improve? And like I said, in my freshman year of college, I was cutting classes. And at the end of my freshman year, I was on academic probation. Like, I was basically a college dropout because I'd lost all my financial aid and I couldn't go back to the college I was at. So I had to not only focus on losing the weight, but I had to focus on, now I got to get a degree or I got to find a job where I can make money to live. And it started by just going to community college and then working my way there, going to university, and now I have a bachelor's degree. So it's all about constantly improving.
Mm-hmm.
Don't let yourself get stagnant.
Amen.
Yay.
Amen.
Well, we are at an hour, I think, which is wild. Yeah, hour and 6 already.
Yeah.
So we're killing it right now.
I mean, we could still go right now. Obviously, this part will be edited out, but we could still continue. It's totally whatever you guys want to do.
I got nothing else to do, so whatever y'all need.
David?
I'm wide open. I think we got to play video games. Hold on. We're going to turn to Switch. We're going to all Twitch it out. We're going to figure what game we playing.
I mean, I want to make the pivot quick of, you going from wanting to lose weight to the powerlifting, how it affects your diet and, all that good stuff. If you want to just touch upon that, and the pec dance, and touch upon that really quick. And then we can kind of wrap it up and then go into the tools really quick. And then jet out. I dig
that.
Okay,
cool.
Good. All right, cool. So 3, 2. All right. So you're losing the weight. You're down now. You're at your goal you're at your goal of 227 pounds. You decided that you want to get into the powerlifting realm. So what is different now as far as your eating habits go and the food that you're taking in? Because you've been so focused now for the last few years of caloric deficit and losing this weight. And, that was the end goal, was to be at, your slimmest weight. But now you want to lift heavy, and you can't lift heavy if you're not taking in as much food as possible. So what was that like?
Right. So it was a really hard mental shift for me at first, because I knew, because when I was losing weight, I could eat less. That'd be fine. Like, okay, I skipped dinner today. That's fine. I can, those be a couple extra pounds off tomorrow. But when I'm trying to get stronger in powerlifting, my body needs that fuel, because, as like I said earlier, food is fuel. So it was kind of finding the balance of eating more. And that was a very hard mental shift for me, because for almost 3.5 years now, I'd been focusing on, less. Now it's like, okay, I got to eat enough or more to get stronger. And it was a really hard shift, because I couldn't just go to eating whatever I wanted. I had to be smart about it. I had to focus on, okay, I need this rice for carbs, but I need to keep it under control, because I want to lift heavy, sure, but I don't want to find myself back at 400 pounds.
Right.
So it was really finding that balance of where the sweet spot was, which I had that worked out when I was in college, because I would get up, eat some breakfast, go to classes, and at the end of the day, I'd go to the gym and lift, and then on the way home, I'd get some chicken and rice from a hibachi place. And
Right.
I understood, okay, this is good protein. This is good carbs. There was some broccoli in there, but
Green.
yeah, exactly. Right. Which I understood, okay, this is fueling my body. This is not something I should hate. This
Right.
is something I need to live. This is something I need to get better. Let's keep it under control. Let's, allow ourselves a little bit more.
Sweet. So that was a mental challenge for you, would you say, right?
Oh, very much so, because obviously once I saw the scale go up, I would still see the numbers go up at the gym, but it was still a very hard mental shift because there still is no voice in the
Because
back.
the mind games start.
Yeah, it'd be like, oh, well, you're a fat fuck now. And I'm
Right.
like, yeah, but I'm strong. I don't care. You're still fat.
Right.
It was stuff.
I'd be so intrigued with that too as well, because obviously I think it's genetics. It's not the end all be all, but there's no question that some people can eat pretty much whatever they flip and want, and they stay within 30 to 40 pounds of their ideal body weight. And there's other people where you're off by a little bit and it's just off the walls. So I'd be intrigued. Did you ever deal with some of your powerlifting friends that they're in this gain stage and they're trying to gain muscle, gain power, so they're just eating up a freaking gourd while you're like playing this teeter-totter balance scale of, oh, I want to eat more so I can gain strength, but I know it can easily turn into 400 pounds.
Right.
So how was that?
It was a challenge because there was this all-you-can-eat sushi place in Greensboro where I went to college, and sometimes a bunch of my powerlifting friends would go there, and they would eat everything in sight, and so would I, because there were still those days where I let myself go wild, which is kind of key because you don't want to make it every day. It is okay to indulge sometimes. It is okay to go wild sometimes, but as long as it's not every single day, then you're gonna have a problem. And I would sit there and they'd just be ordering more and more and more. And the next day they would still make weight for the competition. But I'm like, okay, I got to worry about, I'm going to make weight, all this, all this stuff. Like how is this going to affect my scale numbers?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I definitely had the experience with that, especially one of my good friends. I'll give a shout out to him, Michael Musler. If you hear this, AKA Squat Like Mike on Instagram, go follow him. His weight class is 93 kilograms. And he always talks about, especially during this quarantine, having to eat more to keep that weight. I'm like, let's be nice.
Why can't we all have those problems?
Yeah. And that's I think it's a good because it pivots the other way too. Is I get so sick of these personal trainers that are just like, or just people in general, it's just calorie deficits. Come on, man, just eat less and everything's sunshine and rainbows. Like, come on, there's just more to the game than that. Yeah, because explain that to me, how this man can eat literally whatever he wants and he sits at 93 kilograms. And if I ate whatever I wanted, I would be 1,000,000 pounds.
A lot of kilograms.
All the kilograms.
All the kilograms.
Yeah. And a lot of, and at the end of the day, I'm not gonna lie, it is calorie deficit at the end of the day. But one thing people don't take into account is the mentality issues. Mm-hmm. The body dysmorphia, hating what you see in the mirror. Because I'm not gonna lie, I mean, a lot of the times I look in the mirror, even when I was losing weight, I would still see that 500-pound kid in the mirror. I wouldn't see someone I should be proud of. I didn't see someone who made all this progress. I didn't see someone who had done a lot of good stuff. I saw someone who was fat, worthless, and just a general piece of shit.
So now you've never had skin surgery, right?
Right. Nope.
And then is that in the cards for you in the future, or?
For a long time it was in the cards. It was something I thought about. It kind of got delayed in college because when I got to my lowest, I was still playing football, and I was like, well, it's going to put me out of working out and practicing. So I'll just wait till I'm out of college. And then actually met my girlfriend, Caitlin. As I said, she had lost 250 pounds herself. And one of my biggest fears about loose skin was how everybody looked at it. Uh-huh. But eventually I learned to love it. Like I said this in our podcast with Gormy on the Fat Guy Forum. There were people I was with who I didn't even take my shirt off for, because I was just so self-conscious about it. But once I learned to love it, and also met Caitlin, who has loose skin herself, we both have that to, I guess, relate to.
Right.
So it's not as big of an issue for me because I've learned to love it. Now I still have people telling me. I actually had a comment on my Instagram from some jerk off the other day who's like, you should really consider skin surgery. And I don't know what they meant by it, but
Yeah.
It's
Thanks,
so
Dick.
and,
Give me the
and,
10
and
grand.
it goes and you get those rascals in every sense of the word, because the same people that say you should get skin surgery are the ones saying to me, how do you deal with the scars?
Right.
And it's the same thing. It's like
And they're the
I
same
take
ones
the
sitting
scars
behind
as
the screen
trophies.
eating a bag of chips. So
Truth.
right.
But it's like whether it's the excess skin by itself or it's the scars afterwards, you can perceive them as this overwhelming regret, or you can be like, this is a trophy, man. It's like
yeah.
my little bat wings, like this is a trophy. Like it's like there's very few people out there that can do that. Like
And actually, it was funny because you mentioned a singlet earlier, and in powerlifting competitions, you gotta wear a singlet because they have to know, okay, did your hips go below your knees for parallel? Did your butt stay on the bench? So it's a very easy way to judge when you have a singlet on and everything's skin tight. And going into my first competition, I was so nervous about wearing it because I put it on, I looked like a busted can of biscuits because of all the loose skin. And it was kind of funny because it actually got recognized by some people there. One person looked at my singlet and he's like, "Hey, how much weight have you lost?" And I was able to tell him, I lost all this weight. So in a way, it almost is like a trophy to prove, like, oh, I did this.
Right.
But going back to what you said about the scars and loose skin, people are going to find something to talk bad about no matter what.
mm-hmm.
Whether you're 500 pounds, they're like, oh, look, it's a big fat ass. Or, you lose all that weight and you have all this loose skin. People are like, ew, that's gross. Why don't you get that removed? Or like you said, you get it removed. Oh, what's that scar from? So
right.
At the end of the day, it doesn't matter. Like, just do you. People are going to find something to talk about.
100%. Exactly. It's my favorite quote. There's no one true route to happiness, but there is one true route to unhappiness, and that's trying to make everyone else happy.
Right.
Like
So Joel, I have 3 more questions for you, and then we are going to let you go. So this is a question that I like to ask everyone who's been on the podcast so far. If you could go back in time and talk to 12-year-old Joel, who has no idea that he's going to lose all this weight, one day he's going to compete in powerlifting competitions, meet the love of his life, and, be happy-go-lucky Big J Reed, what would you tell him?
I'd say put down the fork, fat ass. No, I'm kidding. I would say stop trying to make other people happy. Because that's a lot of why my first attempt at weight loss failed, was because I was trying to make everybody else happy. I was trying to make my guardians proud. I was trying to live up to the standard that my parents, everybody would say, oh, your parents would be so proud of you. I was trying to make them proud. I was trying to make, everybody proud. I was trying to make my coaches proud. And my message to him would be, just make yourself happy. Do what makes you happy, as long as it makes you healthy. Don't go to all those fast food restaurants, and just stay dedicated. Because as long as you put the work in, good results are going to come.
I love that. And last but not least, I want 3 tools, 3 accountability tools that you could pass on to anybody listening to this podcast, whether they've started their journey, thinking about starting their journey, or are just looking for some help.
Number 1, patience. Everybody expects, again, like I said earlier, everybody wants that magic pill that's going to take that weight off instantly. You got to be patient. It's going to go on. The weight's going to come on a lot faster than it's going to go off. So just stick with it. Trust the process. Keep yourself going. Number 2, find something to love about yourself. How do I explain this? Because it's easy to get discouraged whenever you're at 400 or 500 pounds. Find something to be proud of. Find something like, okay, I got up and took a walk today. I'm proud of that. I lost 10 pounds. I'm proud of that. Be proud of yourself, love yourself, and just care enough to, do this to better yourself. Does that make sense? I feel like I just worded
No,
honestly,
perfect.
just to pivot, because that's the way I've explained on the last podcast is I celebrate good decisions or good, like, so when I ate a good meal when I was 400, I would stand up at the cafeteria, give myself a high five, and I would sit down. I actually would do that. People would look at me, that was the weirdest thing ever, but I celebrated and I was proud of the fact that I ate a good meal. So I think that's what you're going with. I think if that makes sense.
Yeah. Celebrate the small victories. Especially with a giant amount of weight to lose. I guess this can be tool number 3. is celebrate every victory you can, because especially if you have 100, 200 pounds to lose, it's going to be a long road. It's not going to be overnight. And it's going to be really easy to look at that big picture, especially when you have 200 pounds to lose, it being like, okay, I have to lose 200 pounds. But you lose 25 and you're like, oh man, I still have like 175 more to go. But you don't realize how far you've already come.
Right.
And especially if you hit a plateau, you're going to hit that plateau and you're going to be like, oh, well, it's over. I'm just going to go back. I quit. But just look back and be like, oh, well, I did this. But don't look back too far, because one thing that tripped me up was looking back too far and just being proud of that, but not focusing on progressing anymore. So celebrate your victories, use them as a motivation, but don't look back for too long.
Yeah, one of my favorite quotes is, don't look back only to see how far you've come. So don't look back at all the bad shit, look at the good shit, and keep chugging forward. So
Exactly.
Joel, I want to thank you, my brother, my Fantastic Four member, my main man. Seriously, thank you for taking time out today, especially on such short notice, and doing this with us.
Yeah, of course, man. Would never miss an opportunity to ride your coattails.
And real quick before we go, where can everyone find you on social media? How can they get in touch with you for online coaching? Plug all your shit. I want to hear it all.
Yeah, so as far as coaching, I'm working with a company called My Body Tutor. So if you go to mybodytutor.com, there's a lot of coaches there to work with you. You can also request me if you like me. If you want an asshole for a coach, you got me. No, I'm kidding. But there are a lot of, and it takes a focus on the more why you eat, not just what you eat. I'm not just going to give you a program, be like, there, go eat that. It's going to address more of the underlying issues as well as the general weight loss stuff. As far as Instagram, Big J Reed, that's me. That's pretty much the only real social media platform I use. So, yeah, there I am.
Cool.
Well, and my OnlyFans is in the description below. Please check that out.
Okay. Joel, thank you, brother. I love you, man. And we'll definitely be having you on in the future.
Oh, yeah. Anytime, man. Love y'all too. Even this guy I've never met before.
This guy. There's this guy. I don't even know.
Yeah.
Is it going to be different? I'm pointing this way, but I'm not sure.
Yeah, I'm on top in mine. So, like, you're all below me.
I'm top right. So I'm kind of a big deal.
Oh.
Bottom for me is, yeah. You know what I mean?
All right, fan. Hey, it was a pleasure.
Pleasure and an honor.
Great to talk with y'all. Have a great day.
Totals.